You're listening to I Have Some Notes, a podcast supported by listeners like you. To contribute, visit patreon.com/I Have Some Notes.
Here's a pitch. A well-trained Army Ranger is trapped aboard an airplane full of violent convicts being transported to a maximum security prison. He'll have to use all of his skills and guile to escape and see his family.
Sounds good, but how does a ranger end up aboard a plane full of violent criminal maniacs?
Oh, he was serving time for manslaughter.
Okay, but why does a soldier in for manslaughter have to be transferred to a supermax prison alongside serial killers and gangsters?
Oh, he was actually being released that day and they were just dropping him off on the way.
All right, I have some notes.
Welcome, everyone, to I Have Some Notes, the movie podcast with cuts, keeps, punch-ups, and tweaks on mediocre movies. I'm Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
And I'm Greg Beaver.
And today we are discussing Con Air.
Back to the 90s. At last. Has it been a bit? It feels like it has.
It has, actually, I think, since we've done a 90s joint. We had a real stretch of 80s ones there for a while, but...
Mm-hmm.
It's time to get into the mediocre 90s. And some more Nicolas Cage.
As soon as you do, the hard rock guitar quotient goes up, I find. especially as you approach like the year 2000, then we're into like, like the rap rock, and it's really a part of that whole scene.
So this is usually the part of the episode where I ask about people's familiarity with the material, but this is a beloved, popular film. Lots of people have seen it. I understand you have both seen this before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I'm pretty sure I saw it on Spike TV originally. I definitely did not see it in the theaters. I remember it with commercial breaks, but I have seen it years ago. So this was a good refresher for me.
Would that have been well censored too, I suppose? I mean,
probably. Again, long enough ago that I'm far enough removed that there were chunks of this movie where I was like, I do not remember this part.
Yeah.
But like all of the big beats I remembered along the way. And again, this was a good refresher. Greg,
it's not even the first time I've seen it this year. I watched it earlier this year as just like a dumb thing to put on. And then I very stupidly suggested it as one of our films that we could do for this season. So yeah, I'm well familiarized with the Con Air.
Which is interesting because when we started discussing the possibility of doing this, it was framed originally as we should do another Nick Cage movie. We should do one of his 90s action blockbuster era movies. And we were seriously debating between The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off. And I think you were the one who actually put the nail on Con Air. So this really is on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to torture myself, I suppose.
And it was all Greek to me because I'm a little embarrassed to say, not only have I never seen Con Air before 2 days ago, I have never seen The Rock or Face Off.
No!
I mean, when I was watching, Nita and I were watching this the other day to get caught up on it. And Nita has seen Con Air a couple times. She admitted to me she has never seen Face Off. And I was like, what? This is shocking news.
Yeah, I mean, Face Off to me was like sort of like a seminal teenage movie for me. Like, just like, it's the first time that I ever seen a John Woo directed movie, and we all just like, the doves and all the all that stuff. That the extra cool suaveness of it all was just like really pushing all of our teenage buttons. So yeah, I still have very, very fond memories of Face Off. I would love to do it for the show, partly because A, I would want to watch it again, and B, because it is so silly that it would be fun to try and deconstruct.
Yeah. Well, of course, this film came out in the summer of 1997. directed by a fella named Simon West, who you might know from Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Hey, we've done that movie. Written by Scott Rosenberg. I love the two Scott Rosenberg pulls you've got in our notes here, Greg. High Fidelity and Gone in 60 Seconds. And we love degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's And as my partner and I were watching this, she was like, did this song come out of this movie? And then when they play it again at the end, we're like, yeah, this probably. And she even said, she's like, oh man, back when movies had original scores, like music that came out with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like by the album.
Exactly. Because they wanted to sell a CD along with it. It was all about the little extra cheddar.
Yep.
For sure. That song was Oscar nominated, apparently.
I don't want to live with. That's all we can afford.
Yeah.
Can you tell that Simon West had previously been working on music videos prior to this movie?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really evident in the opening sequence when Nick Cage is coming out of the bar. And they're walking out of the bar, and then I think they're in some kind of oil field at the same time. What is it next to them? There's like some sort of like industrial
it's like a junkyard.
Thing. Okay, but like the lighting of all of that did really read music video to me.
Yeah,
and the rain, just the heavy rain.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Yeah.
I've
never been mad enough at someone to want to fist fight them outside a bar in good weather, but like it seemed like those guys were out there waiting for him.
Yeah.
And they were waiting in torrential downpour to kick this guy's ass. Yeah. That guy, of course, Nicolas Cage as lead character, Cameron Poe, the Army Ranger, John Cusack as U.S. Marshal, Vince Larkin, John Malkovich as Cyrus the Virus, Ving Rhames as Nathan Diamond Dog Jones, Rachel Ticotin as I never proofread these.
I
never will. I'll never learn. Rachel Ticotin as Officer Sally Bishop, Dave Chappelle as Joe Pinball Parker, Cole Meany as DEA agent Duncan Malloy, and Steve Buscemi as Garland, the Marietta Mangler Green.
The most superfluous character of the movie, I would say.
Absolutely, 100%.
Tragic, because he was I'll just say a note right here. He needs something to do because you can't cut him. He's awesome. He just needs to have any point
at
to
risk
his character.
At risk of tiptoeing up to our changes.
Yay!
Catchphrase. Anita actually, when we were discussing it earlier, was like, I feel like you can't cut him, but you got to let him cook.
Yeah.
Because the Hannibal Lectering stuff that he does in the movie where he just like instantly susses out a person's psychology because he's deranged, works. And he should have done that for everybody. And he should have, pegged, Cameron Poe as the good guy instantly. I think that there's something there. Yeah. We'll get to it. I don't understand why he's having, like, where that little girl came from. Like, she's having a tea party in a dirty, empty pool. Like the spaghetti kid from Gummo was busy or something. Like, why is there? It was so weird. What a weird scene. Yeah. What do you guys feel about the casting of our two male leads?
I don't know if I have any particular feelings about them.
There's just a constellation of character actors filling out all of the criminals. It's great to see Colm Meaney in literally anything. But Nick Cage and John Cusack, I feel, should be playing the other character. Legitimately, Nicolas Cage is good when he has the room to really like spread his wings and go big. And Cameron Poe is such a reserved character, whereas John Cusack plays brooding intensity very well. And I feel like they're playing the wrong guy because Vince Larkin has the opportunity to flip out and be angry and be animated, which is where Nicolas Cage does some of his best stuff. And Cameron Poe is such a reserved, quiet character that I feel like John Cusack would be better in that role. I legitimately feel like maybe they're miscast.
Okay. I think you're selling me on it a little bit.
Yeah. I was not on board with that as you started that. And you've sold me on that for the intensity levels alone. there might be something to that.
Well,
yes.
plus imagine Nick Cage like flipping out at Duncan Malloy or speeding down the highway in that sports car, yelling into the phone, getting blown backwards by a jet engine. Like that's all stuff where it's like Nick Cage, I feel like would be better in that spot.
Okay. In a vacuum, I take your point, but then imagine having, John Cusack versus John Malkovich, pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Nicolas Cage versus Cole Meany, I think is too much. Those scenes would have been unhinged, and one of them would have, it would have been more cool acting than the scene could handle. So
fair enough. I'll grant you that. I won't disagree with that. It was something that about halfway through the movie, I was like, I'm not hating either of their performances, but I kind of feel like it would be interesting if they were flipped. And I don't know, maybe that's just me, but yeah. I don't know that that's necessarily a change that I'm going to pitch. We were discussing.
No, it's a fair set, or at the very least, not that I want to like get rid of Nicolas Cage, but I think John Cusack certainly could have done yeah, but he's not quite as action hero-y though, right? Like,
yeah, and I guess he's not maybe necessarily cut the way that like Nick Cage is in this movie. But I mean,
he's a leading man, but he's not he's not driving the tank. Like
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like this is the most jacked I've seen Nick Cage. I don't know if I can name another movie where he's quite. He really. I don't think at the best of times he has necessarily the most stereotypical action hero body, but in this one, like there's a couple shots where he just looks so ripped, and you're like, all right, I buy this, and you can kind of see like why maybe after you see put dailies from this one where you're like, oh, he can be Superman. We can make him Superman.
Yeah, fair. Keep the hair.
Yeah, exactly. Con Air, but Superman.
I didn't know that's where that meme came from of Nick Cage with the long hair, like taking in a cool breeze. I was like, oh, like I did the Leo pointing meme, like, oh. Well, let's go to the trailer and the plot summary and then get into it.
After serving the last of his sentence, Cameron Poe is taking the first plane home to his wife and daughter.
Today's flight is a special one. We're populating Louisiana's Felton Penitentiary. These guys are the worst of the worst.
See a lot of celebrities among us. I see 11 primetime lives, 3 Regents and Kathy Lees, and a genuine 2020 interviewee.
What you looking at, punk?
Nothing, I was just my on your cage.
But one wrong flight
Stewardess, what's the in-flight movie today?
can ruin your whole day.
What happened? We caught the plane, man!
Welcome to Con Air.
Jailbird 1, you are not cleared for takeoff.
And nobody on this aircraft gives a flying.
The issue here is how the plane is brought down.
Shoot it down.
There are innocent people up there.
He's got a little girl to come home to. He's been waiting for this day for 8 years.
What are you gonna do? What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna save the day.
Wrongly convicted of involuntary manslaughter, former Army Ranger Cameron Poe is set to be released from prison on his daughter's birthday. He spent his entire 8-year sentence writing Casey letters because he refused to let her see him in jail. It's a little messed up, but perhaps not as messed up as Cyrus the Virus Grissom commandeering his plane ride home. Yes, Poe's luck is just the absolute worst as he watches helplessly while fellow prisoners hijack the airborne inmate transport in an elaborate prison break. Killing several prison guards and Marty McSorley, Cyrus takes full control of Con Air, aiming to misdirect both the U.S. Marshal Service and the DEA while he flies himself and his motley crew of ne'er-do-wells to freedom somewhere on a sun-soaked beach. Thankfully, both the Marshal and the DEA agent in charge of the situation are cops of just die-hard level incompetence, so it shouldn't be that hard. There's just one problem. All-American badass Cameron Edgar Allan Poe is on board, and he's got a daughter to deliver an underwhelming stuffed bunny to. Can Cyrus overcome how cool Poe looks diving away from explosions? Absolutely not.
I swear Marty McSorley was on screen for all of like 2 seconds, and I still managed to clock him. I was like, hey, is that McSorley? What the hell? For those who don't know, Marty McSorley is a hockey player that used to ride shotgun with Wayne Gretzky back in the glory days of the Edmonton Oilers. But he was an LA King for a while, which is, I'm pretty sure, how he ended up in this thing with no lines, as I recall.
Yeah, I enjoyed this much more than I thought I would. I sometimes kind of, approach these sort of big, broad appeal blockbuster action movies, especially from that era, with a real hesitancy. And this one, I was not bored. It was really fun. I couldn't. There were things that annoyed me. There were things that insulted my intelligence, but there wasn't anything that bored me. And I guess that's what we're after. So
yeah, it's definitely not a boring movie because there's always something going on. To the point where there's almost too much going on. This movie is a bit of a paradox for me because on the one hand, by the end of it, I was exhausted. I was like, this movie's too long. But also, it felt like too much had happened. Like there wasn't enough space in the movie for all of the stuff it was trying to cram in. There's plot lines that go nowhere, characters who have nothing to do, cul-de-sacs that take the plot in weird directions. The movie's trying to do too much and somehow didn't have the time to do it all.
I think what's funny about the characters that don't really have much to do is that they don't necessarily have enough screen time to entirely bog down the movie. Like there's Steve Buscemi's character who, gets to say a few cool lines, but really doesn't have any particular bearing on the plot. We lose Dave Chappelle rather quickly. And then he's replaced by a bunch of, maybe not as talented performers as him. And so there's kind of like a fun factor that drops a little bit. But all those new prison characters that have been added just don't really get enough screen time to really like affect how the plot is progressing for the most part. So it could have been much worse. It could have felt a lot more, like you're trying to just chug through this movie. But I felt like the pace was fine despite the flaws.
Yeah, it's a good point about Dave Chappelle. I didn't even fully understand why all those other, like when they stop in Carson City and a bunch of other convicts get on, but they're like in on it. That was not that it was like I was confused because it's not a confusing movie, but it was just sort of like, it seemed to me like the Carson City beat was only there to give Nicolas Cage a chance to get off. And then when he doesn't, a reason for Larkin to be like, why didn't he get off if he could have? I bet he's a good guy and he's on our side. And I feel like there's maybe a different way to have Larkin realize he's got an ally on the inside without that whole convoluted stopping and switching the prisoners thing. And also the other guys getting on, and like, I forget when Steve Buscemi gets on, but yeah, like it seems like it.
That's when Buscemi gets on. Yep.
Yeah, it should just all be one. There should be everybody gets on, everybody gets off in either Mexico or turns out Las Vegas.
I'm not entirely sure I agree, and I think partly because, like your action movie kind of needs an action beat at that moment. At that point in the movie, and I think there's a good combination of like tension there. Will they? Won't they get caught? And I don't know. Like there is quite a bit of stuff for Cameron Poe to do in that space where he's trying to play both sides, and there's some good tension there as well. So I don't know that I would necessarily want to cut that.
I guess it just like also makes you think, well, why? And I sort of mentioned it in the pitch at the top. Why are the worst criminals on their way to a high security prison also like a shared Uber, like guys who are going free, guys who are getting on, guys who are getting off? Like, if these are the worst of the worst, you feel like they wouldn't take any risks by like making multiple stops. Like it's the American prison system. They can get two planes, one for the nice guys going home and and I realize like that then the movie wouldn't happen, but I guess that's sort of why I'm advocating for it being not having one extra random stop in the flight trip. Cause it makes you start wondering, well, why are guys getting on and off at all?
Right.
Like it just, yeah.
Okay, so if you don't have that, do you have an idea for what kind of action beat would replace that landing. Like in a way, I can kind of see how you feel about it because
it is a good moment of tension.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's an action beat. It's like a tension beat, and you're right. Like we learn a lot about Poe, but like it's more of a tension
he have
thing.
Doesn't he have a fight at the end of that sequence, or no? Isn't that when he goes down into the storage and beats up that dude?
Yeah, that's
the guy who was with the buddy in the box. Yeah,
that can happen in the air.
Right, I suppose.
Oh no, that happens. That happens after he and Ving Rhames go down and find Dave Chappelle's corpse.
Right, so they're already in the air at that point. That's because they're dragging. Right, Dave Chappelle's stuck in the landing gear.
Yeah.
They have to go because they're not going to make it to their rendezvous point on time because they're dragging wind because of the landing gear being open. Right.
So like you're right. It is a moment of tension. And we would definitely want to replace that because then otherwise it's almost all action. But I feel like there's a way to do that tension with, I mean, just the fact that he's trying to play both sides and not let slip that he's a free man who has no skin in this game and also might be a goody tattletale. Like that can all happen without having to like swap places with guys who have to get, I don't know. It seemed like of all the beats, it was the most convoluted for me. And it made you reinterrogate the initial premise of why is this plane full of deranged lunatics making multiple stops like a bus?
Yeah.
Well, not in fairness, at the beginning, they explain not all of them are being transferred to the high security prison. Some of them are being transferred due to like medical issues and stuff, which is why Nick Cage's buddy is going.
Yeah.
So
there could be lots of different prisoners on board for different reasons, but like they should all be going to the same place. I don't know. I don't want to like die on this hill. It was just
you bring up an interesting point.
It felt to me like the Carson City stop was mostly there to give Nick Cage a chance to get off, so that when he doesn't, Larkin has a clue that there's someone who might help him. And I feel like if that's the goal of that beat, there's other ways to get there.
Bro.
As with everything else in that beat.
Yeah, I think the one place I might agree with you is that there's two stops, right? Like there's the Carson City stop and then there's the is it like some sort of airfield refueling station or whatever it is that's kind of out of the way. So maybe in a sense it's a little redundant to have them keep landing.
Yeah,
but I got to tell you, like, I don't necessarily agree that I think that sequence mostly works. The one thing that doesn't maybe necessarily read as entirely believable is sort of the weird situation where Nick Cage decides to get off the plane and then decides at the last minute that he's not going to. And yeah, there's some of that somewhere in there, like that maybe can be a little cleaned up.
Yeah. Also, this was not like one of my notes. I sort of stumbled into this insight here. So that's why I'm not like really wanting to, to go to bat too hard on this. But, we usually try to talk about what we liked, and I love John Malkovich in anything. He's one of my favorites, and I love how his character and characterization are great. Even when he has some of the most corny, cringy dialogue, it still kind of slaps because it's coming out of creepy John Malkovich.
Yeah.
He sells the kind of intelligent, brooding danger that works for the character. Like he seems like a guy who's in control, but also could just like snap and get violent in a second. And it totally works for Cyrus. Like that is absolutely the way that character should be. And why it's clear he commands the respect of the other inmates. Like he's very much, he sells being the mastermind of this escape plan very well.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would trust many other actors to do what he's doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite John Malkovich role is KGB in Rounders. He's so good in that movie. So yeah, I always like seeing John Malkovich. I was going to ask, of the major action sequences. So we've got, I guess the main one would be the initial takeover of the plane. Mm-hmm. Then Nick Cage's fight on the plane. Then the airfield battle
Shootout
zone.
Yeah.
And then the Las Vegas landing.
Mm-hmm.
Of all of those, which one were you most on board for?
The breakout and... Okay, so because I have a problem with the airstrip part, it goes breakout, Vegas, and then airstrip. The Vegas thing I kind of liked. It was a nice twist, or not twist, but like way to escalate and have the fight carry on a fire truck. My only beef with the airfield thing is, why do the cops come in through the narrow junkyard? like they 300 themselves, and like no one made, it's a desert. No one made them do that. Like,
yeah, it did really feel like
in.
they just walked themselves right into a very obvious shooting gallery.
I also want to kind of disagree with Liam about the Las Vegas chase. I think that it is superfluous and could be cut. I think the movie should end with the plane crash. I legitimately do. I think the final battle should have been on the plane. It should have ended with the plane crash, and the whole fire truck sequence should be cut. I think it's nonsense.
Oh, right.
That's the point where the movie lost me, because I was like, this is going on too long now.
Agreed. When was the last time you watched Speed?
It's been a while since I've watched Speed.
Because we watched Speed recently, and I had the same thought where they get off the bus and then they're still running around the tunnels under Los Angeles. And I'm like, it was about being on the bus. If we're not on the bus anymore, what are we doing? Whereas I didn't feel that here. I was more than happy to see John Malkovich scurry away on a fire truck. And it's just interesting because, like, what you just said is exactly how I felt about Speed. Where I'm like, we're done. We're off the goddamn bus.
Yeah, we're off the plane.
It's like they got to the fireworks factory and then they left the fireworks factory.
Exactly. We just saw all the fireworks and now the movie's still going. Why?
Yeah, that the Las Vegas sequence, it's there's so much like clear carnage going on. Like, Cameron Poe is supposed to be this character that does the right thing despite what it might mean for him personally, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems like he's like I read it as like he's supposed to save anybody and everyone, right? Like, mm-hmm. But then you get to the Las Vegas sequence, and you know they crash on the strip, which is obviously going to kill a whole bunch of people, and then they go through that whole sequence with the fire truck, and they're like, there's so much carnage throughout that entire sequence. Cars blowing up and like, bridges being torn apart and this and that. And yeah, it just like it undercuts his character because there's kind of like wanton disregard for the safety of others while all he's trying to do is catch this one criminal, you know, who it's not even his job to catch him. Like, you know,
no. Yeah, I feel like the movie should have ended with the plane crash. Like, the plane crash, he's fighting dudes as the plane is crashing, the plane goes down, he stumbles out of the wreckage, reunites with his family, gets a pat on the back from the DEA agent and the U.S. Marshal, and goes on his way. Big Die Hard ending with him reuniting with his family covered in a blanket, all bruised up.
Yeah, and then you can get like John Malkovich crawls out of the rubble, and then
then Al shoots him. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
like literally, you could have the Die Hard ending. John Malkovich could like stumble out and be like, "I'm gonna get," and then John Cusack pulls out his gun and shoots him dead. Like,
yeah, easy peasy, all done.
Just because we're talking about John Malkovich dying, I'm gonna hit you with one of my fixes. However he dies, in whatever scenario, whether it's at the end of a fire truck or after a plane crash, it needs to be related to either the crimes he committed that got him incarcerated or threats that he made to other characters throughout the movie. Like
100%.
he needs to be like Cyrus, the head smasher. And then when he dies with cause he dies by getting his head smashed by like a random heavy weight falls on it and crushes him like he gets crushed by an anvil, like a Looney Tunes. And that's fine if he was like the head crusher killer. And so either that or like have him make a really specific threat early on. And then that is how he died. The one I just kind of came up with. It's not genius or anything, but like if it's going to end in Vegas, he's going to be like, I'm going to rip your jaw off and throw your teeth like dice at a craps table. And then when he flies off the fire truck, lands in a casino and like curb stomps himself on the edge of a craps table and all of his teeth roll out. Like it just, him dying by weight just was like, why that? Why not?
Well,
drown in the Bellagio fountain. Like
seeing as I 1,000% don't want the fire truck chase. He repeatedly threatens people throughout the movie with making them take a walk out of the plane. So it could just be as the plane is going down, he and Poe are struggling and he gets thrown off the plane.
Sure.
He gets a one-way trip to Vegas the long way. He could even be talking about like going gambling or something when they get to Central America, wherever they're going to get freedom.
That's actually kind of exciting if he gets thrown out of the plane, outside of Reno, and then the last beat isn't dealing with John Malkovich, it's making sure the plane doesn't land on the strip.
Yeah, and then Cameron Poe gets a huge hero moment where he saves a bunch of lives by crashing the plane safely. Yeah. Oh, rad. We just fixed the end of this movie by accident. We haven't even gotten to our fixes yet.
Do we want to
keep this going and get into our fixes?
Let's get into the fixes.
Let's do that. See you on the other side.
I'd like to get more reading done, and joining a book club seems like a good idea, but I don't know.
Why not?
Reading a whole book in a month, that's pretty daunting.
What if it was just a chapter, say a week?
That doesn't sound too bad. Still, getting together with a bunch of people, that's a whole evening.
Well, what if it was only half an hour, whenever you wanted to?
That would be great.
The Read Along, a mini book club for your ears.
Join my wife, Anita.
And my husband, Scott.
As we take you on a journey through a good book, one chapter at a time.
Available right now on your podcatcher of choice.
Welcome back, everybody. We are fixing Con Air. First note, it's a positive one. I forgot to mention it off the top. Great name. I didn't realize, having never seen the movie, I didn't realize that's why it was called Con Air. And I'm like, oh, it's like funny, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, check mark.
Sometimes
notes are positive.
Yeah. So we've already kind of discussed how we want to kind of change the shape of the ending to give Poe more of a hero moment. And that means that fewer of the kind of mini bosses need to escape at the end. And that means I feel like Poe needs to do more on the plane to thin the herd. And I think I've got a good fix for that. And it involves Ving Rhames.
Okay.
I think Ving Rhames is underserved in this movie. He's playing Diamond Dog Jones, who's supposed to be this black militant. And that doesn't really factor into much over the course of the movie. And I think what Poe needs to do over the course of like the first two acts of the movie is get in Diamond Dog's head and turn him against Cyrus the Virus, but not turn him to his side. Like, to be clear, Ving Rhames doesn't switch sides. He's on his own side, but he sows dissension in the hijackers. And the way he does it is because Cyrus the Virus is very blasé about all of the black prisoners. He doesn't care that Pinball gets killed. He shoots, Poe's friend the moment that Poe's friend suggests that something's up. He has a very strong disregard for the other black prisoners, and that should rub Diamond Dog the wrong way. And Poe should be in his ear about that early on. And at the point where he shoots, I forget what Poe's friend's name is.
Baby-O.
Baby-O. Yeah, when the point where he shoots Baby-O, Diamond Dog should flip on the virus, and the two of them should be fighting. And obviously, Cyrus kills Jones at that point. But it thins the herd and it gives Diamond Dog like something to do in the movie that's a little more substantial, and his black militant background playing into the plot and being something that Poe can use against Cyrus. And it's another good moment for Poe to be using his brains. It's a way for him to thin the herd a little bit. I think, and it's something more for Ving Rhames to do, honestly,
Yeah.
who's another character who's underserved in this movie.
I love that a lot, and it actually slides right into one of my notes. In general, all of the convicts should have the thing that they're known for be more relevant in the things they do.
100%.
So you just fix Ving Rhames. He needs to, his black nationalism needs to play a significant role. But just like, especially if we're maybe in my version, we're cutting Carson City, we got to fill some time. Like they should all have a moment where their, I guess for lack of a better word, field of expertise is relevant. Like an explosion needs to be created by a guy who's in for arson and pyromania. A thief needs to pick a lock. A gun runner needs to know where a stash of guns is or how to get some guns on short notice.
I agree. It's strongly implied that all of these convicts are in on Cyrus's plan. So it should be clear that they're all there for a reason. I 100% agree with that. With the exception of Poe and Baby-O, who were maybe last minute additions to the flight.
Not even. There's even, as I was typing this out, I had a little eureka moment. Poe is even there. He's got a specific job. His job is the only man who can stop them.
Yeah, that's true.
Like each one is.
I feel like this actually works for Steve Buscemi too, because Garland Green, he's this deranged serial killer, but he's got the Hannibal Lecter thing, right? Like he's also very good at like reading people. He can get a beat on like what their motivation is right away. And I feel like he clocks Cameron immediately as this guy doesn't belong here. He's about to get released. He doesn't want to be here, but he feels compelled to be here because he's protecting that other guy. He doesn't spill the beans though, because Garland Green also recognizes how volatile the situation is and he doesn't want to die. So he becomes, he kind of joins quote unquote Cameron Poe's team, but he's the one who's giving Cameron Poe advice on how to deal with the other prisoners the whole time. Letting Steve Buscemi cook by being like, that guy, this is what his deal is. That guy, this is what his deal is. Oh, I can read that guy like a book. And that gives him some reason to be there.
Sure.
Ooh, you know what? I think if this is the route we're going, then Liam's preference for deleting the Carson City landing makes a lot more sense, because then you're up in the air trapped with this serial killer and you're getting to have a lot of fun with Poe meeting and having to find a way to trust this obvious criminal and a horrible person to help him out in the situation. So that feels like you can replace the tension that was in those Carson City scene with the tension of this abject, crazy serial killer.
Because there's another character who's like quote unquote on to Nicolas Cage. That's the I closed it out, but there's like a Mad Dog, I think is his name, or it's the guy he ends up fist fighting in the hull.
Yeah.
Is the guy who realizes, hey, you're a goody manslaughter soldier who's going to probably sell us out. If for a while he's worried both Steve Buscemi and the guy who dies in the hold are going to spill the beans, and then he kills one of them and then finds out, oh yeah, I killed the right one. The other one's an ally. Yeah, we can still have some of that tension. Like I don't want Steve Buscemi to be immediately likable the second the mask comes off.
No, for sure.
But And I see what they were trying to do by having him like setting him up to have his weird scene in the pool. And then it turns out he's actually a nice guy. So we like to see him at the craps table at the end of the movie. But
I still think you can have the payoff of him still having escaped and be at the craps table at the end of the movie.
Absolutely.
But that's the payoff to him having helped Cameron Poe through it.
Yeah, precisely. He's the one con who gets away. Yeah. And it's sort of like bittersweet because he is a mate. Yeah.
Because he's a maniac. Yeah. I like a lot of the little changes we've already made here. What about the DEA agent? Like the
this
fact
is what I have written. Can I read you what I have written?
Well, hold on, because before you answer, I want to pose my problem, which is the fact that he smuggles a gun on board is irrelevant. The gun doesn't really factor into anything, and he just immediately outs himself and gets killed. So I feel like maybe there's a better use for him or a better payoff to him, and you clearly have something up your sleeve.
No, I don't. I was the reason I wanted to jump in was like, that thing makes no sense, but I don't have a solution for what his purpose is. Cause like so that's why I wanted to like kind of cut you out. Cause I'm like, we both saw that problem. I don't have a solution. Cause the main role of the DEA agent isn't to escalate the situation with a gun. It's there. Cause like, you're right. The gun is irrelevant. There's already one gun introduced and we know there's more in the plane. So the fact that a second gun is in that scene is irrelevant. The reason the DEA agent character exists is to piss off Cole Meany when he dies so that John Cusack has an antagonist on the ground. Like he needs a point of friction because he's our second hero. So the problem I don't have a solution for is how do you get a nosy, meddling, uncooperative second federal agency involved in John Cusack's work?
I feel like I have a sloppy solution. We'll put it that way. Right. The kernel of an idea, which is that when Dave Chappelle's going around trying to unlock everybody, he finds his gun. Well, he's going to unshackle his legs. He's like, "Why are you packing? What's going on?" And they immediately out him as a narc. And so suddenly he's a hostage. And so the guy who was there to be the DEA plant is suddenly a liability. Yeah. And it's not that he's flown off the handle and is threatening to kill people, though that could still happen, especially if we want to give Diamond Dog another reason to not like the virus because he was threatening Pinball, Dave Chappelle's character. Yeah. But like initially, suddenly he's just immediately a liability. The fact that he had a gun outed him instantly, and now they have another hostage, basically. Yeah.
And but again, that's not from the Gen Pop who isn't involved in Grissom's plan. They now are suspect of all of them. Like all the regular prisoners are suspect.
Which and includes again, Cameron and Babio. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some of that Carson City tension we were looking for.
There you go. There we go. Yeah. That works really well. I thought it was a really sloppy fix, but that actually works pretty good. And then, of course, later on, the DEA agent can try to play hero very stupidly and get himself killed, which can still piss off Cole Meany. So still works.
Yeah. Yeah, because the whole because like Cole Meany's just like, my guy's on that that plane, like it, and you know we need him there to foil John Cusack, but
what if it's the DEA agent's body that Nick Cage tosses out of the plane to send a message
after he gets killed? Yeah,
yeah. That way, like Cole Meany sees directly what happens because I don't feel it in the movie proper that Cole Meany would have a good idea of like what exactly happened to that guy because it seems like they just assume he died.
That's a good point.
When they don't really know. Oh well, I guess.
No,
does he die before they hit Carson City?
The virus threatens him when he's got him on the headset. He's like, "I killed your agent. I killed your DEA agent."
Right. Anyway, but this is much more visceral for them to like for his body to land in the middle of.
And we get more Dave Chappelle.
Which, and plus,
1997 Dave Chappelle, I want more of. 2026 Dave Chappelle, I
take
don't
him or
care.
leave him. Yeah.
And plus, if we don't land at Carson City, Dave Chappelle isn't stuck in the landing gear. So, it's another way to dispose of a body. Dave Chappelle should still die later on. Then,
oh yeah.
And it should be something callous and sacrificial by Cyrus the Virus, because again, we want Diamond Dog to turn on him. So, to give Ving Rhames more to do.
You know what? If he kills Pinball. That's kind of like strike one. And then when he lets the innocent diabetic guy go into diabetic shock or get shot immediately after getting his insulin shot, that's sort of strike two. Ving Rhames turns on you.
Yeah. And I mean, we can have Pinball stick around as far as the landing strip in the desert.
Yeah.
So like there's still because they're still going to stop in the desert, right? And then take off from there with no fuel and a damaged plane. So,
yeah. It could be his incompetence. Like, I don't know if we still want to have the what's it like the gangster's son? Is that who? Like, or the who's the guy that goes to the jet? Do you remember this?
Oh, he's some kind of narco, and he, as I recall, Cyrus had cut a deal with his boss to get them. They were going to land, meet their jet, and all take off. Yeah. But then they got double crossed. Go figure by the drug kingpins. So,
Pinball can be responsible for letting that guy escape his sight, and then gets a cap from
Hell yeah.
from John Malkovich, and away you go. I was gonna. There was a. We'll see this later in the listener comments, but there was a really good conversation going on the Discord about whether Nick Cage should be kind of like an altruistic character, or whether it's better that he be kind of like morally ambiguous, or even just like straight up a bad guy at the beginning of the movie. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, when you read that, like, sort of like, where did you fall in that kind of area?
I agree, only because I think it's really contrived that, like I said at the beginning, that this plane full of the worst convicts in the world are making other stops like an Uber rideshare. But I do think it's harder to sell him as a hero if he is like, they'd have to really lay it on thick that he's a bad guy trying to do, like, the thing he's in for isn't that bad, and all of these good things are really good. Like, they'd have to lay it on a lot thicker.
Yeah.
I'm okay with him not being paroled that day. I'm okay with him being a decent dude who's in prison for the wrong reason, or for a legitimate reason, but, like, let's be clear, he's still morally good. But it's not the day of his parole. He is also being transferred. Like, he's just a quiet prisoner who's trying to ride out, like, he's still just trying to ride out his sentence, but this isn't the day of his parole. Rather, all of his good acts, like crash landing the plane safety, managing to save all the innocents aboard the plane, stuff like that. The coda to the movie, the little final bit, should be like John Cusack being like, I'm going to advocate for your early parole. Like, this is... You're a hero as far as I'm concerned, and your debt to society is paid off, so that he gets rewarded with an early release so he can be with his family. I'm okay with that, because then it's a little less contrived. There's a reason he's there, and it could be as simple as he's also being transferred for a medical reason, just like Baby-O. Like, maybe you set up that he's got something going on as well, that he needs to be going to this prison medical facility. And maybe that's a potential liability for him on the plane as well. Like, he's sick or something.
Yeah. Or they do talk about at the beginning, like, the reason he goes to jail for so long, even though he takes the plea deal, is because he's a trained ranger. He's, like, known to be a weapon. Like, his hands are lethal. Therefore, he should have known better that the rules about fist fighting outside a bar in the rain don't apply to him. That could also be the justification as to why he is on with all of these insane maniacs, is because he's technically classified
as a dangerous.
He's classified
criminal
up there with masterminds and serial killers, because even though he's a naturally good guy, he can kill you with his bare hands.
Yeah, no, that legit.
Like, he's threat level 10. Yeah.
I think there's a way in that opening bar sequence to make him seem more like a heroic character, because I like, in a lot of ways, like, I feel like he's just as responsible for that altercation starting as the other guy. That's even though the other guy's like doing a lot of name calling. But I think if you clean up that sequence where Nick Cage is continually trying to de-escalate, and when we get to the outside where the actual fight is concerned, like, the guy who is doing all the insulting is drunk, and then he lunges at them, and then Nick Cage either like does like a big elbow or something like that just to get him away from his girlfriend / wife or whatever, and that's sort of what breaks his nose. But the other two guys are not drunk; they're sober. They're witnesses, and then they basically just rat him out, and that's why he ends up in prison.
Yeah,
so like that,
he was vicious. He attacked our drunk friend. Oh my god. Yeah.
If you want to add an extra layer to it, he could be a guy who used to be in the military, but refused to go to Iraq or whatever in
a like conscientious objector.
Yeah, and that he feels like he basically gets submarined by, I don't know, the military court or something like that, and then sends him off or whatever. I don't know because he wouldn't end up in the same prison though.
No, that's one of our listener comments. Point that out. Jag would have handled all of this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't care because I'm a Canadian, so it doesn't really matter if that's the case. Like, he can end up in regular prison as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I mean, like that. I mean, that's a way of adding an extra layer and sort of building upon his altruistic nature. You know, that he's continually doing things that don't necessarily serve his best interest, but are in the best interest of other people.
Yeah. I think the main thing that we're kind of put off about is the idea that he's a guy who's going out on parole and they're transporting him with all of these like serial killers and masterminds. And I really do think it's as simple as it's not his parole date yet. Like he's still just considered a high risk prisoner, even though he's been super quiet because of his military background. And that's why he's being transported with them for reasons. A better reason. And this just is an opportunity for him to act heroically and earn his freedom, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Though, okay, hang on. If he isn't out on parole, though, then we lose some of that intrigue of, you know, like the guy who dies in the hold. I wish I could remember his name. Finding out that this guy is actually a free man, that he's a good guy. Like,
yeah, you kind of need that.
Some of that,
some
of that tension.
There,
yeah.
He could be on his way to his parole board hearing.
Sure. Yeah.
I like that he's a free, like he is essentially a free man. I like it. I'm not bumping up against that element of it as much as you
Fair
guys
enough.
are. It's like, it doesn't really, it doesn't bother me that like, he's hitching a ride. That happens to be the plane that's most accessible to them. And then they just decide like, and you know, prisoners don't have a whole lot of rights in the United States. So it makes perfect sense to me that they would put an innocent man with a bunch of like crazy people and then be like, this will be fine. That's just the American prison system.
Yeah, that's
fucking sucks.
And that kind of like just dumb backwards thinking that kickstarts a lot of these sort of movies. Like, someone has to take something really for granted so that the dominoes can start to fall.
Yeah. And to be fair, that this is definitely something people should and could take for granted. Like at one point, John Cusack literally says there is no contingency plan for this plane being hijacked because it was thought to be impossible. So, yeah. So clearly the best and the brightest were involved in this.
Speaking of the best and the brightest, thank you to all of our listeners who contributed comments when we solicit them. You can do it on all the social medias that we participate on, or you can head over to our Discord. It's free to join, and we have great movie conversations. We'll pick out some of the choice comments for reading here now in the listener section, but this was one of the livelier collective notesing we've had for a film. So join the Discord.
Wednesday, 831 says, I need to rewatch it for better feedback, but I remember finding the criminal proceedings at the beginning the least believable part of a movie that ends with a plane crash landing in Las Vegas. I know they need to get a good man in prison with some lifers, but there's got to be a better way. A frame up? That's always a classic. He could learn the truth while inside the joint and get revenge in Con Air 2, but this probably detracts from the main plot too much.
The other, I like a frame up. The other one I was thinking is maybe some kind of like nepotism, like the guy he beats up
was like the son of a U.S. senator or something.
Yeah, senator or something. So he gets it way harsher than he would have if it was just some yokel. Yeah. But frame up works quite well as well. Robin Taylor says, I haven't seen Con Air since it came out, and man, Cage's accent is terrible. The setup is stupid as fuck. He would have been tried by Jag and never seen time because it was self-defense. Yeah.
It's a little contrived. I actually like the nepotism fix a lot. I've sat on that while you were reading that last one, and them throwing the book, like, even though his lawyer's like, take the plea, you'll be out in like a year. And then the twist is this guy was the son of like, a U.S. senator or some local politician or someone with a lot of clout. And so the judge throws the book at him and he gets just absolutely like sandbagged by the legal system.
Yeah. Okay. This is probably a bad idea. I don't think I'm actually advocating this as a fix, but what if it's not a senator? It's like the head of a federal agency. And that's the same federal agency Cole Meany works for, which is why they get involved.
He's with the DEA. He killed a DEA agent's son.
Yeah, and then no, that's like I knew it was dumb when I started it. I shouldn't have followed through on that. But we're riffing, we're writing. That's what we do here.
Derek says, so 100% this movie would be better if they let his character be morally ambiguous, but Cage is well known to want to play heroes. I wonder if he made them change the script to keep his character above reproach, even though it makes no sense for him to be punished then. I mean, we kind of touched on this a little bit, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting observation too from Derek, because one of the things I noticed was like we talk about giving Steve Buscemi an opportunity to kind of like join his party and be on Team Good Guy. But also there's the guard Bishop who gets most of the movie locked up, and it's only when she's free does she just get her revenge on Danny Trejo. She's not really like relevant to the plot or the escape. She just like gets to have revenge against the guy that was harassing her. And then same with Daddy or Baby-O. He's just there to be this poor innocent victim who needs insulin and then gunshot care. And so I wonder, and I remember when we did National Treasure, I had the same observation. Every cool, good, heroic thing is done by Nicolas Cage's character. He's got this party of competent people behind him, and none of them contribute meaningfully to solving the mystery or the plot or the action. And now I'm seeing a trend, and I'm wondering if that is maybe like a weird ego thing where he's like, only I get to do heroics.
Well, that's not entirely true because John Cusack gets to do some heroics in this movie
too.
Sure,
but like only me and everyone else's name above the title get to do heroics.
I'm okay with Guard Bishop getting an opportunity to take part, especially if he's thinning the herd over the course of the film so that he can have a final climactic showdown with Cyrus and like a few of Cyrus's remaining mini bosses at the end while the plane is going down.
Yeah.
Guard Bishop, like maybe having an opportunity to help thin that herd out a little bit would be great.
Yeah.
Baby-O having an opportunity to help him thin out that herd as well would be great. Give them something to do. And then while he's trying to take out Cyrus the Virus, they could make a play for the cockpit and try to keep the plane up for a while because the pilot's dead at that point and he's fighting the virus and he throws Cyrus out of the plane and he crash lands into a casino and dies. And then Nick Cage makes his way to the cockpit, and he's the one who valiantly struggles to crash the plane.
Just in time, that's when Baby-O dies. He's treated Baby-O's flying it, but I'm full of not enough insulin and too many bullets. You know.
Or at least he passes out if we want him to survive in the end. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that works. And then Nick Cage can still swoop in and do the heroic landing. I like that. I think that gives some of the other good side characters something to do besides just Steve Buscemi being a good Hannibal Lecter on his shoulder.
Andrew Craig says, well, that guy should definitely have put the bunny back in the box.
100%. Like 50% of the plot would have been erased if that guy had just quietly put the bunny back in the box.
Sick. Well, I'm glad you guys suggested this one because I had way more fun with it than I thought I would.
Yeah, this is at the end of the day, it's a fun schlocky movie. It's about as smart as it needs to be. Could it have been better? I think we've proven yes, absolutely, 100%. But it's fine.
I feel like we fixed the hell out of it. And also, it doesn't matter. It's still fine how it is. Like, there's other movies where like this, we're doing important work here. This would have been way better. Whereas this is like, it's fine being what it is.
Hollywood, call us and we'll do a remake of Con Air with our fixes. But the original, you can just leave the original be.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, if Hollywood does want to reach out to us, they can do so via social media. They can reach out at ihavesomenotes.bluesky.social, I Have Some Notes Pod on Instagram, or I Have Some Notes on Facebook. But of course, the best place for Hollywood to come knocking would be at our Discord server. You can find the link to that on the profile of all our social media accounts and over at ihavesomenotes.com. Always great conversation. The conversation for Con Air there was really good. And we're always talking about TV shows, new movies that are coming out, just whatever. So be sure to come in, drop us a line, and take part. And of course, while you're doing that, head over to your podcatcher of choice, give us a little rating and review because that helps us out.
You also head over to patreon.com/I Have Some Notes and become an armchair screenwriter. For just $4 a month or $4 for however many times you want to give us $4, you can get access to some cool old bonus episodes, but mostly just show that you support what we're doing. You want us to keep doing it. We really appreciate it. And if nothing else, we will thank you like we are going to thank Sharon, Karen, Tack, Josh, and Robin.
And the next episode will have our listeners saying, wahoo! As we're doing the Super Mario Brothers.
Until then, I'm Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
I'm Greg Beaver. Keep watching the skies. Wahoo!
Falling Dave Chappelle's.